Okay, so, hey, what's going on, guys? This is NearFear, and today I am joined by my Canadian brethren.
Hi, I'm here near. I'm a
Yeah,
copycat apparently.
yeah. He is like my,
I'm the
my
triple C.
doppelganger, apparently.
No, I'm the triple C. I'm the Canadian copycat.
Which is also known as a doppelganger.
Yep.
And today we're going to be doing a trackside analysis of the Sahara track, as well as a few other of our favorite tracks, just to see what makes a favorite track. So,
Yeah. What elements we really like about from those tracks. So my favorite track, Apricot Hill.
and my favorite
So
track is Suzuka, because Suzuka is the beast. Not Suzuka East. Suzuka East is alright, but I like the flow of Suzuka a lot better.
hmm and then there's which we'll be doing last. So we'll be talking about Apricot Hill and why I like it. It's a small track. It's not really a reason. It's actually not that small. It's just really fast in speed, and that's why lap times are a bit low on it. So it's fast paced. It's very smooth, flowy. Uh,
There's
it's
not many
got,
break zones.
yeah, only three major, well, three brake zones, really.
Yeah.
So, and then, well, depending on what car you're in.
Yeah, that's true. Because I'm not exactly too sure how some of the other GT cars handle. I know I've done the SLS on Apricot Hill, and it was kind of the same principle, really.
As a
It's
Red Bull
just that
Junior.
it's about the same principle. It was just that I couldn't get on the gas as well as I could in the junior because there wasn't as much downforce and the car was a lot heavier, but I still really only had to brake for the first set of turns, the hairpin and the chicane, and that was about it.
Yeah. So, yeah. So like reason why I think Apricot Hill is my favorite track is with parts in it that just make it a great track to race on competitively or just having fun with friends has to be turn one and two, which I will say it's pretty much the copy of Suzuka, but instead
Yep.
of being slightly downhill, it's slightly uphill. So, yeah.
It seems like a shorter version of Suzuka. Like, it just seems like they took Suzuka and they condensed it and they made it a really fun racetrack.
They took some elements from Suzuka, that's what I would say.
They took a lot of
Um,
elements.
yeah,
They
turn
they
one and
turn
two,
one
and
into the S's, the
this is
hairpin, the curves into a hairpin.
well, the curve that goes into a hairpin that isn't
That
totally
isn't
Suzuka.
totally
It's
Suzuka. They just kind of took like the curve you go on to the straight, and then they just kind of took the chicane and they threw out everything in between, and they just put them together.
mhm. And then they changed different like height levels and hills and stuff. So,
Yeah,
but and as well, I think that really long left hand sweeper. I don't think that's a really
I don't think
exact
that's from
copy
Suzuka
either.
though. That
But
came somewhere else, or someone just thought it would be a good addition, which it was. It's one
oh
of the
yeah,
more
definitely.
fun corners.
Especially when your tires get really low in the Red Bull Junior, because you're going. Normally, I don't have to let off, but do I start letting off
Just
ever
gotta
so
hang
slightly?
on, man! I gotta hang on!
It's like the nail biting corner, just like,
Oh,
and
man.
if you have a wheel, that could be trouble. That could be problematic for you.
If
Just
you have a wheel, that corner scares the crap out of you. A, if you have low tires, or B, if you attempt to take it too wide, trying to get to the, trying to
do a late apex.
hold
Yeah.
the, yeah, trying to do a late apex and keep the wheels on the rumble strip on the outside, because the second you tap even like a dot of your tire off of the rumble strip, you just end up going wee into the wall. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, there goes my race. I have engine damage and no tires. And the tires are bouncing down the track at this point.
Hmm. Well, that's if Gran Turismo 6 actually had a realistic damage model. Thankfully, they don't.
Yeah, they don't. But iRacing kind of doesn't either, so I can't completely
True.
fault them for it. It's more convincing, but it's not realistic.
Well, one, there is the hardware limitation of the PS3, so
That is true.
we,
There's a
we
huge
aren't gonna.
hardware limitation here.
Yeah, for what they've managed to done, it's fantastic. So
I just wish the networking was a lot better.
the networking is a lot better compared to F1 2013.
Yes, but it could still be better.
True. I hope with Gran Turismo 7 it will be, due to the PlayStation 4's hardware buff.
Yeah.
So,
So back to Apricot Hill.
I would have to say the reason, what the thing that I think that makes Apricot Hill such a great track has to be just going into that hairpin, just flying in there and just getting on the brakes as hard as you can and just going around that corner, especially when you're battling with someone. Really satisfying when you're side by side and then you realize, oh, he's on my inside, he took the line away. Crap, should have driven defensively, right? So at that point, it's very satisfying in that way, and there's so many different techniques you can use in all the corners, well, all the major passing corners, and all that. So like passing corners that I believe is a passing corner is the hairpin, under braking, and depending on where you are, and going through that long left-hand sweeper, if you're right on the guy's back bumper, you can get a draft going pretty good and probably pass him on that back straight. Going into the hairpin, you're not even under the braking zone, so yeah. And don't even get me started on the hairpin, not the hairpin, sorry, the chicane. I love that chicane.
You love that chicane. It's like your, it's like your, it's like your baby. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
the bay. The chicane is Cooper's Bay, and it will forever
Yes.
be Cooper's Bay. I think my favorite part about the track is probably similar to Suzuka. Its lack of a true definition of a traditional racing line. Most of
Yeah.
this track is about just getting the car to do what you want, really. Getting the car placed where you think it would go the fastest is a majority of this track, and it's also very short, and the way it directs traffic very, very well.
Yes, especially when you're lapping other cars, it makes a huge difference. Because let's say that left-hand sweeper, if you catch a group of cars right out of the chicane, out of the S's, they can easily just slow down a little bit and ride the outside and let you go on the inside on past, and they can slip in behind and just draft, right? So it's a very easy track to deal with people when
It's a very
overtaking.
easy track to kind of deal with the car. It's a very easy track to kind of deal with a race.
Yes, and it's like you said. There isn't a defined racing line. Like let's say like Spa. Spa, it's very very one-lined. It's if you're not on that rubber line on Spa in GT6 in the dry, you're losing
It
time.
kind of like herds everyone into this kind of single file fashion, and then there's a way that you kind of pop out and go past another person, which is fine. That's the charm of the track. That's why it's so fun. But why this one's fun, why this one does as well as it does, is mainly because there isn't that. You kind of do what makes you faster.
Mhm. Like some people, I know people that are way better than me going through that, going through the hairpin, right? But as soon as it comes to that chicane, I'm like right back on their tail and almost passing them again. Right?
Yeah.
We can be doing the exact same lap times. The difference is that he's better in the hairpin and I'm way better in the chicane, and that's the only real difference.
That and the S's have less emphasis on speed and just more emphasis on kind of get through them.
Get through them consistently and clean. That's pretty much how you do it. You go apex to apex, and not just trying to be really smooth with your steering inputs. Depending on what car you're in, you can just go through it flat out. If you're in like the Red Bull Standard, I don't think you can go through it flat out. You have to let off the throttle a little
Just
bit.
a little bit.
So
You kind of have to chain them together in the faster cars, and in the slower cars that have more weight, you kind of have to do a bit of the same. You're just doing it at lower speeds.
yeah. So yeah, like that final, like in just terms of really good passing opportunities, that hairpin, you can, like I've baited people to do some things before that worked rather well, making people like some strategies I've employed before that aren't really the best in terms of defending all the time, but can catch people off guard. Braking a bit earlier before the braking zone really has to go in, and trying to fake a late brake sort of thing,
Yeah.
and then like, doing that consistently with the person behind you just seeing what your line is, and then wait for them to go, and when they set up to go past you, and then you really do a late brake, and they think that they have to outbrake you, and then next thing you know, they're in the gravel trap, and you just barely survived because you broke at just the right moment, and
And
they
they're
thought
just
that you
like,
were
oh
braking.
no!
When they go and they clue in, oh crap, he actually just baited me into doing that. And I know a handful of people that have done that.
Yeah. I think I've done that into the chicane. It wasn't even into that hairpin. It was into the chicane. I did that. I was like, oh,
Oh yeah, yeah, you did it into the. You
Cooper
did
in
it.
your chicane!
Oh yeah, I do it all the time. Like I do it all the time if I know that the person behind me has noticed my pattern, and I do that. Like I'll slowly start backing it off, right, and then they'll go and they're going and they're like, oh, his tires are getting bad, so he's losing braking ability. But really, I'm just braking much earlier than what I should. What I mean by that, I mean like maybe 3 to 4 yards earlier, which
Like, it's
makes a
not
huge
even that
difference.
much. It's like a tire or two earlier.
hmm It, it's enough to make them think that, oh, I'm able, because he's doing this, I'm able to gain this amount of gap, like you close the gap that much in there, and they think that, okay, if I late brake, I'll be able to pass him, right?
It's either that or you're just subconsciously trying to match pace, and you're not really paying attention to what exactly they're setting you up for. And then once they actually set you up for it, you then realize, I should have been paying attention to the brake zone.
Yeah. And more often than not, that really happens a lot in public lobbies, but in league races
It
that
happens as well.
people
It's just a bit
happens as
less with
well,
the front
a bit
runners.
less with the front runners. Like I don't think Windfire would fall for it. That's for sure.
And that's because he acts like he's kind of got that Alan Prost vibe where it's just like, yeah, no.
Yeah.